Welcome to the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera. With me is Douglas County Manager Jim Nichols, and welcome, Jim.
Thank you.
Good to have you here, and we're going to talk about the April meetings of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. They met on April 2nd and April 16th. And at the April 2nd meeting, the main topic of discussion at that meeting was the Commissioners' discussion on the county-wide connectivity plan. And I wonder if we could begin this conversation by getting kind of an overview of what the connectivity plan is all about.
Sure, happy to. And you're right, that was the main focus of that meeting. Connectivity is a big issue for the county, and it's one that we're taking very seriously. The connectivity plan is basically an overview of all the transportation needs throughout the county, and it's all forms of transportation, whether that be bikes and pedestrians or how we get our vehicles to and through the county. And so the program basically looked at and brought together all of the studies and all the reports and analysis that have historically been done for the past many years on various transportation components throughout Douglas County and put it all together into a single unified plan and vision that we brought to the board for their consideration, because we recognize the importance of transportation to Douglas County, and we are taking the steps to make sure that the county's transportation needs are met.
Okay, so commissioners at that meeting on the 2nd, they did approve a list of connectivity projects, and can you tell us about which projects they kind of zeroed in on?
Sure. At a prior board meeting, when we first brought connectivity to them, one of their directions was, okay, this is great, but come back to us with a prioritized list. And so that's what we did. We tried to break down projects into the higher, more immediate priorities versus those that are important, but maybe of a lower importance relative to other needs. So the highest priorities that we brought to the board include the US 50 South Shore Revitalization Project up at the lake, a revitalization of our Main Street corridor in along 395 in Minden and Gardnerville. And then also in partnership with that is looking at an alternative truck route on 395 to basically take the truck traffic, the major truck traffic, off of 395 before it gets to our downtown corridors. And then the other high priority project was a connectivity path between the Ranchos and downtown Gardnerville. So
okay.
Those were the higher priority projects we brought up. There are a number of other projects mentioned, and those are not going to be left off the list, but our focus will be the higher priority projects for the time being.
Those are all very worthwhile projects indeed. Mm-hmm. And then the commissioners directed staff to come back with potential funding sources for the connectivity projects. Mm-hmm. What kind of funding sources are available?
Well, what we brought forward to them were three specific sources of funds. We talked about an additional infrastructure sales tax, an additional utility operator fee, and then a gas tax. All three of which combined together could be utilized to help support our projects. Somewhere in the neighborhood of $4 million per year would be generated by these funding sources. And the intention would be not necessarily that this money in and of itself funds these projects directly, but it would be a funding source for us to be able to obtain some kind of bonding so that we could then have greater financial capacity. And then those monies would be used to leverage outside funding sources where we might be able to get, or at least be competitive and be considered for some grant funds that might total upwards of $400 million to help support these various transportation needs. We also recognize, and the connectivity program recognizes the importance of maintaining what we have right now. It is not our intention to go and build new roads at the peril of what we already have in place. And we know our residents and visitors and business owners expect a solid transportation system that's already here. So we would also be managing how we're going to maintain the roads we have and how we're going to be able to fund maintenance of those roads.
Okay, so we have a priority list and we have some potential funding. So what's next for the connectivity plan?
Right. Well, the board directed me to come back with ordinances on those three particular sources that I mentioned in addition to looking at other possible funding sources that may be out there. And staff and the connectivity team previously had looked at funding sources, but I think the board was wise in asking that we double check and make sure that there was nothing we missed and nothing that we overlooked, and ensuring that whatever funding package we provide to the board for their consideration, it is the best and most efficient use of funds available to assist us. And our intention will be to go back to the board in the next couple of months with this funding package for their consideration, and then hopefully we'll receive some direction as to where we go from here, and then we'll be able to start accumulating the funds we need to address our long-term transportation needs.
So we'll be hearing more about connectivity and at the commission meetings, and also there is a special program too, isn't there, that's
Correct.
Coming up?
Melissa Blosser, our PIO, she'll be hosting the next edition of Inside Douglas County, and the focus of that show will be on countywide connectivity. And so for residents and viewers who have a real strong interest in getting in depth on this subject and learning more about it, that'll definitely be a show that they can watch and get some great information.
Okay. Well, that pretty well covers the April 2nd meeting. As I said, that was the focus of it. And boy, a lot of public comment too on that item, as well as a lot of discussion
There was.
by the commission.
And to be honest, there was a great deal of positive public comment from folks who recognize the financial impact of the funding sources we talked about, but also realize that something needs to be done that's going to address the county's transportation needs well into the future.
Okay. Let's move on to the April 16th meeting. That was kind of a short meeting. And at that meeting, commissioners did hear a presentation on the Amgen Tour of California women's race to be held in the month of May at Lake Tahoe. Part of the race will be held at Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, it was just a brief presentation, and the race will be held on the weekend of May 8th and 9th. Presentation was made by the executive director of the Lake Tahoe Visitors Authority. And it's really important to get the word out because we had a bit of a less than stellar attempt previously at the men's race up at the lake. Through no one's fault, it was weather related. But fortunately, we're getting the chance to try one more time and show what Lake Tahoe is all about. And so we're looking forward to this next evolution of the women's race being held up there, and all the opportunities it brings to the county and the new exposure it brings to Douglas County for folks who may not know about us.
Okay, very good. And we'll look forward to that in May. Commissioners also at that meeting approved a resolution for a Federal Lands Access Program grant for the South Shore State Line Revitalization Project. Can you give us more detail there?
Sure. Well, this is just an opportunity for us to apply for some grant funds, and this is for the US 50 South Shore Revitalization Project up at the lake. And it's really done in partnership, you might say, with a number of other regional and even statewide agencies that we will work with, including El Dorado County, City of South Lake Tahoe, and others who all have a vested interest in the success of that transportation corridor. And this approval was really just, it was a preliminary action because it only gives staff the authority to apply for the funding, and then if we are actually selected, then we take steps as to how that money gets used and how we can help move that project forward.
Okay. Well, that takes a look at the April meetings of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners. What about May? Do we have a preview of any of the agenda items for the month of May?
The big thing in May will be budget wrap-up. That's the time when we're finishing the budget for the 2015-16 budget cycle. And so I think the big meeting we want to highlight for your viewers is the May 4th workshop. We already had some preliminary workshops in April. This will be the final budget workshop. It'll be May 4th at 4 o'clock. And we're excited, at least I'm excited, because this is my first budget with the county, and I'm really happy and pleased with how things have gone so far. It's been a very collaborative process with all the departments and all the groups we work with throughout the county, and folks have been extremely cooperative in working with us to develop a budget that we believe is sustainable and provides its services that our residents and customers need and deserve. So Folks who are interested in the budget can certainly attend the May 4th meeting. We would welcome them there. And really, as far as I'm concerned, that'll be the big highlight for the month of May, getting the budget wrapped up.
Okay. Well, Jim, I thank you for all the information you've shared with us here on the County Manager's Report. I'm Lloyd Higuera for Douglas County Manager Jim Nichols, and we'll see you next time on the County Manager's Report.